Wow, okay. We really wanted Sharon to be one of our keynotes in 2009. Scheduling conflict didn't allow it, but everything happens for a reason because I'm really excited that she gets to be our keynote this year. You have her bio, and I'm not gonna read that because it's all her professional, amazing stuff that she's done. But on a personal level, if you can imagine a person who has quiet strength, who is gentle and strong and nurturing, and I first met Sharon a couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and she's one of the first people that actually sought me. She gave me her book, The BUTCH Stories, and I feel like someone had snuck into my mind and like got my thoughts out and was like writing this for me. And she's just been there for me as a mentor, both personal, professional, spiritually, and we talk a lot about intergenerational dialogue and why it's so important. And Sharon is my first mentor that's like more than 3 or 4 years older than me, and we have about a 20-year age gap. And it's so important. Our elders are so important because they've been here before, and though we may disagree on some things, it's important to listen to them and learn from them, because if it wasn't for them, then we would have a harder time right now. And I hadn't cried all weekend, and I hardly ever cry, so bear with me, but I was going through a real tough time, and I just needed someone who had wisdom to give me some advice. Is getting over a relationship that was, it was just really painful breakup, and I hadn't dealt with it in the proper way. And, my father loves me. I'm a daddy's girl. But I needed someone who had been there before, who understood how I felt as far as like grieving over the loss of a love of another woman. And Sharon always took the time out to listen to me and give me advice, and always just be so warm and kind. And she's inspired me so many ways, and she just, you don't have any idea how much you have really changed and impacted my life. So I just want everyone to please just open your hearts, and Sharon's the kind of person where you're not really gonna listen to what she has to say. You're gonna feel it right here. And I'm just so happy that y'all get to hear and get to be exposed to this person that I love so very much. So without further ado, Sharon Bridgforth.
Thank you for that soulful introduction, for being one of my teachers and inspirations. Thank you for bringing new life and new audience to the BUTCH Stories, and for being one of the backbones behind this gathering. I want to thank the BUTCH Voices founders, board, organizers, volunteers, and everyone else, the countless people that have hefted and moved the weight of responsibility, the vision, and the work necessary to make this conference happen. I want to thank Q Ragsdale and Joe LeBlanc for being my touchstones and my champions in getting me here. I want to thank Alice Y. Hum and all the speakers, panelists, artists, and vendors that have and will lead and hold space for us during our time here. To those of you that are participating in the dialogue around the mission, intention, and naming of this conference moving forward, thank you. To those living and beyond who have made it possible for us to be here today, gathered publicly in the name of BUTCH Voices, those whose work created this moment in which we need to hash through an infinite number of ways to name and call ourselves in our genders and our sexualities and our bodies. I want to thank my shiro, Cherie Moraga, who lives right here in Oakland, whose book, Loving in the War Years, saved my life. And Audra Lord and June Jordan and Barbara Smith and all those names who we know and do not know, whose daily acts of courage broke open and continue to lift the ground we stand on. Thank you. Thank you for being here in this room, in this moment, in these bodies, at this conference. And I just want to take a moment and ask you to look around. Ain't we fine? Let's celebrate ourselves. Your presence here today and the glimpses of you that I see out in the world affirms me and the reality that I am witness to change in my lifetime. I want to thank my ancestors and my guides and my teachers, Raul Salinas, Marcia Ann Gomez, Lori Carlos, Daniel Alexander Jones, Sonia Perryman, Omi Oshun, Joni Jones. Memphis, the home house, biscuits and bacon, my grandmother's laughter, backyard parties, bid, whisk, and beer, neck bones, greens, and cobbler, sweet tea. Lil Stevie Wonder, the staple singers, Jerry Butler, Cannonball Adderley, great aunts, great uncles, cousins, dancing. Just beyond the railroad tracks, there is blood. Los Angeles, my mother remembering, reaching forward, cars, buses, exhaust, sirens, screaming, billboards, concrete. Pork chops, potato salad, orange crush, sweet potato pie. Otis Redding, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, B.B. King, Aretha, the radio. Up, up and away, my mother's laughter, the ocean, the waves, my mother dancing, her friends dancing, us children dancing, a new story to life. I am from the blues, hard times remembered, recounted like mantras, least we forget. Chants about survival and daddies taken in the night. Moans in the subtext of dreams. With chicken frying, music loud, finger popping, and laughter, I learned how to tell stories from my family. You see, jazz is a blood memory, something deep in the bones, a charge, a responsibility, a gift experienced. Like those stories, long before the books, the mentors, the conferences, the theater, the words, there was my mother's laughter, and her mother's, and hers. As with all my work, the context for our time together will be framed in Black traditions. I'm going to ask you to be witness participants, to respond to and be responsible for, with me, creating our collective experience. Thinking of yourself right now as witness participants in the privilege of this space that we're in, dedicated to Butch Voices, I want to ask you to turn to someone or go to someone that you don't know and name some of the people that you are thankful for. And before you do this, I want to give you a few things to think about. I invite you to hold space for the person speaking. In other words, it's not a conversation. Listen with your whole body. Notice what it feels like to be listened to. And ask yourself gently, what kind of listener are you? What kind of truth are you choosing to tell today? And at all times during our time together, ask yourself, what am I feeling? What is that about? And how does that affect how I live my life? And finally, as you're talking in your duos, be mindful of how you put your voice in the room. You've got to be loud enough for your partner to hear you, but not so loud that others can't hear themselves. So again, the question is, who are you thankful for? So 5 minutes. Go for it. Ask yourself, what kind of listener are you? How did it feel to be listened to? What is your experience of the impact of your voice in the room? And just really quickly, just without, it doesn't have to be one at a time, but just tell us, how do you feel right now? How are you feeling? Come on. Bring it on. Come on. We black right now. Call and response. How you feel? All right. Shit. Thank you. She was a boy, born a girl, till she became a man, then a woman, now both. I. He was a girl, then a woman, till she became a young man with flowing hips and hair. I. He a man, then a boy. I. She a man, she a woman. I, him. She perfectly made for us, for we. Him, she, boy, girl, man, woman, man, young woman, spirit, man, girl, child. Boy, grown, now. Him, she, now. Her, he, now. We, us, I. Toni Morrison in Rootedness, the Ancestors Foundation says, the autobiographical form is classic in Black American or Afro-American literature because it provided an instance in which a writer could be representative, could say, my single, solitary, and individual life is like the life of the tribe. It differs in these specific ways, but it is a balanced life because it is both solitary and representative. In other words, I is we. What I want to do is to share some of my I with the intention of bearing witness to we. This is the first keynote that I've given that hasn't been in the form of a staged reading or performance. I wanted to challenge myself to speak directly to you about things that I know from personal experience and from my own beliefs because you are my tribe. You're the closest to who I am in my core. And so I want to speak directly to you. The Butch Voices theme of community building, social and economic justice, physical and mental health is something that I feel very passionate about. I believe that if we don't attend to our own physical and mental health, our work will not sustain itself or reach its full potential. That our vision is only as powerful as we, the individual containers, are. So today I want to focus on physical, mental, and I'm adding spiritual health. To do this, I want to talk about love. The oldest story in my life is that I'm not loved. And because I'm not loved, that I will not have what I need or want. This story ran my life from the deepest, oldest place in my unconscious memory for as long as forever, for as far back as I can go. My little girl self was screaming in my core, scared, isolated, and sad. So later, when I layered drinking and running the streets in on top of that and some random drugs, ooh-wee, as they used to say. I'm 53 years old. I grew up in Los Angeles. I was raised in a southern village there called South Central LA. I grew up in South Central LA at a time when hundreds of thousands of Black Southerners had migrated. My mom is from Memphis. I was actually born in Chicago, but that's a whole nother story. Growing up between South Central LA and our home place, Memphis, I didn't, that I recall, have much contact with people that were not Southern Black Americans. And though I now know that I had sissy uncles and mannish aunties, I had no way to identify or name their presence in the post-migration era that I came of age in. So as I grew from a tomboy to a mannish girl to a bull dagger, with no language, no discernible mirrors or support for who I was and how I felt in my body, being me felt wrong. The disapproval and disgust that was projected onto me pierced me and ate me up from the inside out. I started drinking when I was 10, and I stopped when I was 37. I developed a pattern of choosing women who could not love me. Beautiful, sexy, smart, hardworking, unavailable women. Okay, y'all know about that, okay. I'll let the church say amen. I nursed a broken heart continuously and passionately because, you see, those women served to prove what I most believed, which was that I could not be loved. And even though in those days I blamed my girlfriends for my broken heart, the truth is my heart was never not broken as far back as I can remember. And since I had never attended to my broken heart, it took me a long time to realize that, in fact, I was unavailable to love. And choosing unavailable women served me. In 2005, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. As a genderqueer person, this was terrifying in a particular way. One of the many things that I had to battle was feeling violated each of the many times that I had to lay back with my feet in stirrups. Thankfully, I had been sober for 10 years by then. You know, it takes a long time to get the liquor out your organs, and it takes a really long time to learn how to behave like a halfway normal person, because what you've been doing is self-medicating so you don't have to feel. So I was in process, at least by that time. I had a lot of support, a loving, available partner, a supportive daughter, family, and community, and it just so happened that I also had really good health insurance at that time. I don't always have health insurance. So I was able to get a fantastic oncologist. What I remember most clearly from that whole experience is laying on an exam table thinking, I really want to live. And in that moment, things that previously seemed pressing, important, issues, hard, melted away. It didn't matter anymore. I just wanted to live. So I promised myself that on the other side of surgery, I would commit to living fully. After a radical hysterectomy and about a year of gaining my energy back, I began the work of honoring my promise to myself. I started with 2 questions. Metaphysically, what must I do to never get cancer again? And what does living fully look like? The answer for me to both questions was love. And this led me into what they call the dark night of the soul. I knew that I could not fully embody love and hold resentment towards my parents. I could not fully embody love and blame others for feeling unloved. I could not fully embody love and not love myself. I needed to let go of everything toxic around how I loved. I had to figure out how to release sadness, resentment, shame, anger, blame, and fear. How to be responsible for and articulate in expressing my feelings. I had to reimagine my dreams, my goals, my work, my life. So that took about 3 years of just trying to embody that. I would say around 2008, I came out of that dark night of the soul. Last year, my oncologist released me from his care. He said as far as he was concerned, the cancer would not come back. Thank you. Still, I know that the kind of systemic change, the shift that I promised myself, is a daily practice. I want to pause here for a moment and ask you to quietly, for yourself, ask yourself, what is the old story that does not serve you that is running your life? And feel free to write this question down if you want to. What is the old story that does not serve you that is running your life? Where does that story live in your body? And right now, what are you feeling? What is that about? And how does that affect how you live your life? And if you would, just very quickly to someone next to you, talk about how you feel, very quickly. And if you don't want to talk about how you feel, because I want you to be mindful to stay in your body and to stay in a place that is grounded, so feel free to pass. But if you're able and you want to, just turn to the person next to you and very briefly talk about how you feel. And bring it to a close. And this is something that I hope you take away with you to either journal about, meditate on, or continue in conversation in safe spaces. So really quickly, I'm a theater artist, and I encourage everybody, if you haven't, to take workshops with actors, because they make you do crazy stuff and it makes you not take yourself so seriously. So stand on your feet and let's just take 3 audible breaths together. So stand up. And on the count of 3, we'll breathe in and we'll breathe out audibly. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Throw it out there one more time. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Last one. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you. Put his still beating heart deep in the earth. Put his still beating heart deep in the earth. Put his still beating heart deep in the earth. Throw away all the clamped down names, not ours. Pack tight the pulled back dirt. For she mama, we mama for us. For all before, for them to come, for we and they. Call her louder. Call her, shatter shackles, break iron, spit bit, crush collar, blow dust. To the wind, to the wind, to the wind, to the wind. Walk away, walk away, walk away now. This stops here. I asked myself what was the metaphysical root of the cancer, not because I was blaming myself or discounting my family history, environmental factors, or hard living, but as a way to feel proactive in preventing the cancer from returning. I wanted to know what toxic waste I could release from inside. I discovered that I was hurt, that I did not know how to fully feel or express my feelings in healthy ways, that my lack of dealing with my feelings and languaging them forced my partners to be responsible for the emotional work in my relationships, which I resented. That I was deeply attached to my story of not being loved. Really quietly to yourself, tell yourself, what are you holding that is toxic? What does this have to do with your old story that does not serve you? How does this play out in your relationships, in your work? What do you have the opportunity to release that could save your life? Today I practice living fully as love. This often looks like a hot mess failing, falling, feeling embarrassed. Just yesterday, I got triggered in the lunch conversation when we were talking about what this conference will be called, and I just felt like for a while I didn't have any grace because I got triggered. And thankfully, the leadership of this conference and the people that were in the room that were brave enough to say how they felt, even though many things were being true at the same time and those things didn't seem to be agreeable, it really helped me, and practice helped me move to a space that I felt more comfortable about being in. For those of you that will be in tomorrow's conversation around this, I want to ask you to think about what your triggers are. And how can you move quickly to a place of listening with your body, present in the moment with compassion and grace? I really appreciate that we're trying as a community to articulate our feelings and experiences around our intentions and our naming of ourselves. I feel that we have the opportunity to model for the LGBTQI communities how to move through a difficult conversation with compassion and clarity and grace and openness and joy and goodness. And that we can do it in a way that allows for all the complexities of our diverse experiences and realities and identities to be respected and present. You are here because you are working to create the world you want to live in. I believe this work begins in your body, in your heart, in your moment-to-moment actions, in the way you treat the people you love. I believe that this work is a path to expand your vision, your work tools, your capacity to be in community with others, your ability to hear, to share, to model greatness, to live fully. You are never alone. Rest now. Little girl, go to sleep. Dream sweetly and free, right here, right now. In this moment, you are safe. I release you to this, the truth. This is what you're born to, and you love. Little girl running past the shed, I love you. Slave woman shattered, I love you. Old man stuttering, I love you. Veiled baby, I love you. African king who sold me, I love you. Juking woman, I love you. Woman praying at the river, I love you. Him, she, I love you. This is the message I'm bringing, I love you. This is the reason I'm here, I love you. Scared, beaten, neglected, I love you. Drunk, mean, abusive, afraid, I love you. Hear me now or come back to it again. I love you. This is my prayer for you. I love you. This is the road we choose. I love you. This is the magic we make. I love you. This is the change we bring. I love you. I love you. I love you. We. I am grateful to you. You are my tribe. I pray that you take care of yourself, that you look in the mirror and smile, that you love yourself, that as you work in community, even when you fail, fall down, fall out, and embarrass yourself, that you are as compassionate with yourself as you are with others, and that you know you are king. I wear a hat and suspenders, pants with high waist and cuffs, tie and pointed shoes shining. I carry my staff and veil, flow into all my selves. I am king, now and always. Girl, woman, man, boy, seer in this body. Today I say I am right to be here. Today I call my own name proudly. Today I take old skin off and eat it. I am made new. This is where it all comes together. This is where we meet. The shift is now. The change has come. It is time. I move from the crossroads, stand where all the rivers meet. Life flows through me. I wait for you. Come to me. Ask your question, child. Thank you.